Namaste, everybody. Good afternoon. And thank you for attending this Zoom call. I want to thank each one of you for being so patient with me getting started. I want to thank AshaUSA for giving me this opportunity to share my childhood passion of gardening, and Saili and Kamlapuram in particular for giving me this opportunity. I know Kamla's husband, Prakash, is also a very passionate gardener. I have worked with him in the past in the capacity of a volunteer at Hindu Mandir and other places. So it was Earth Day yesterday. It's also Vasant, spring season. And that reminds me of a shlok in Sanskrit, which I learned in 8th standard growing up in India. And it goes like this. Kakaha Krishna, Pikaha Krishna. Ko bhedo pika kakayoho. Vasanta samaye prapte, kakaha kakaha, pikaha pikaha. Loosely translated into English, it means the crow is black in color, and so is the kokila bird. So how do you differentiate between the two? When spring season arrives, the crow goes cow, cow, and the kokila bird goes kuhu, kuhu. So it has stuck in my head since then, and I look forward to spring each year. And lo and behold, we are here in Minneapolis. It is springtime. The snow has melted. And this presentation about indoor container gardening is specifically for Minneapolis cold and snowy season. And it's not about outdoor gardening because we have only 3 or 4 months of short summertime. And I came up with this idea when I was working at home, like most of the world, at home during the lockdown and during COVID. So I was doing whatever I could do when not working. I have a bunch of plants that I took care of, and I thought this will be very good and therapeutic for all those people who stay indoors even during non-lockdown and non-pandemic times, less mobility, or who are dependent probably, or something to do indoors when you are not going out in the snow. So without taking much time of ours, let's get started. If Saili, can you move on to the next slide? To get started with the indoor gardening, and I'm stressing on the word indoor because this is something that anybody can do in a confined space, a small apartment, a big house, even those who are students or anybody, single person living in a basement, rented space, anything, they can do that indoors. The basic things that you would need is containers, of course, plastic, metal, cement, terracotta, ceramic, whatever. You would need planters, something decorative to put that pot in, a plant dolly, the wooden platform that you see there with wheels to lift heavy because nobody wants to break their backs. Small trays underneath the planters or the pots for the drainage water to catch, and a piece of plastic or tarpaulin. You don't want your hardwood floor or the carpet to get ruined. So that is also my main concern, because at the same time, you want your house to look neat and clean and do the gardening. The most important plant that a plant needs is at least 5 hours of indirect sunlight, potting soil, water, fertilizer, stakes or twines to tie vines, for example. And I say minimum 5 hours is because if you have more sunlight, of course, that's a happy situation. But living in an apartment or basement or a big or small house, not everybody has a sunny window or a sunny door. So you are lucky if you have 3 or 4 sunny spots in your house, and then you can have maybe a group of, say, 3 plants, 4 plants, or 5 at the most. So you can grow edible plants as well as flowering plants. And edible plants, I'm not being very ambitious by saying You can grow tomatoes, or you can grow cucumbers or eggplants or any of those things. This gardening is targeted for people who can do it in a simple, down-to-earth, easy manner and by themselves with minimum help from anybody. And that's how I do it. It's my passion and hobby, and I don't want to impose it on anybody that, oh, come and lift this pot for me. So anybody should be able to do that and take the enjoyment and the pleasure that it gives you. Among the flowering plants that grow very well inside the house in our heated condition in Minneapolis, the first one is jasmine or mogra. This is a very easy to grow plant. You can buy them at nurseries during summertime in Minneapolis and keep them outdoors during the summer months on your deck. They will be established in the sense the root system and the flowers and the plants, the leaves, they will all be established. And then in last week of August is when you want to bring them indoors and then train them. Spot a sunny window or a door in your house, the basement, anywhere. They are happy. The watering schedule, that goes once a week thoroughly. And as much as it seeps through the bottom and collects in the saucer that you have underneath. Its fragrance, you can use it for puja, you can use it for gajra for the hair. And this is one of the most popular plants because you have 9 long months and it's happy, it reblooms and very easy to maintain. Next slide, please. This is another of my favorites, star jasmine. This is again a very fragrant plant. And the flowers are star-shaped, so that's why it's called star jasmine. And watering schedule is same, once a week thoroughly till the water drains out of the bottom, collects into the saucer, and leave it. Overwatering, that kills the plants, any plant. So just once a week thoroughly, or if you think you have more time, or if you want to fuss over it, small quantities, twice or thrice a week. But don't kill it by overwatering. And again, these flowers, they bloom, they rebloom, they stay bloomed for as long as a week or 10 days. So during winter times when you're locked inside the house, you enjoy the fragrance. You can use it for puja, for gajra, for the hair, or just look at them and just enjoy the, close your eyes, it takes you down the memory lane, brings back memories, or just makes you feel like you're in a garden. So that's another favorite of mine. Next slide, please. Orchids. As far as orchids are grown, people think that it's a very difficult plant to grow. It's fussy. They look very beautiful and dramatic, and people are almost scared to grow them, thinking they are high maintenance. And believe me, I have had 3 orchids in our house since, I must say, maybe 10 years, and they are the lowest maintenance. Keep them on your kitchen windowsill in indirect sunlight, water them, and let the water drain through the bottom of the pot. And these, they rebloom. And the trick of this plant is, and how to identify if it's blooming is, they always have that bud and the nodes shooting from below the second leaf. And they also have the aerial leaves, like you see, like snake and worms wriggling out of the soil. So those are aerial roots. They are not the flowering nodes. And what you see is the flowering node coming out of the second leaf. So if you see something growing from below the second leaf, that's a happy time. And you would know, oh yes, my orchid is blooming. You don't have to moisten the leaves or spray with water or any of those things like magazines say, or anybody tells you. Just water it and let it have some indirect sunlight. And the flowers, once they bloom, trust me, they stay on for as long as 4 months in bloom. They give you joy for 4 months. So the 4 months of your winter, those are taken care of. I have something in our living room that bloomed in mid-December, and it's still on. Next slide, please.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, absolutely.
So orchids, see, when we generally buy them in store or somebody gives them to you,
don't throw them away. Yeah, this is what I have.
Then just keep them, and we don't need to trim them or cut the stem or anything, right? Just leave them.
Once the flowers have withered, the gift that you have got, cut the stem from just below the second leaf, and you will notice that bloom has come below the second leaf. So cut it with scissors, don't throw it away, water it again once a week thoroughly. And be patient, give them indirect sunlight and the water. That is the least that they ask for. And these plants are grown in humid climates in the tropics. And in Minnesota winters, we have the heaters on during those 9 long months of winter from September to end of May almost. So they are not asking for anything, just water and indirect sunlight. You don't even have to spray the leaves with water, like, they say in the magazines or the internet sites. So here they are. They come in several colors, several shades. There is no fragrance, but they are a joy just to look at. And they have a prolonged period of blooming, 4 long months. So I've been almost every morning, I look at these flowers in our living room, and they're still there. The second flowers that we had, the second pot that we had, they bloomed in mid-March. And I know my summer is going to be super. So they are a joy. If you keep them collectively, you have multicolored, and it's a pleasure to watch.
Vandana, can I ask you a question about, again, how much water do you need to put? That's one of the problems with orchids. They say if you water too much, there's a problem.
I would say not more than 6 ounces at a time, 6 to 8 ounces, because orchids in particular, they like water. It's coming from tropics, and they grow in humid conditions. So 6 to 8 ounces is good. And like you can see my pot and the saucer, it's stained because the overflow water, it stayed there, and let it stay until the next week that you water it, or until the water in the saucer has evaporated, because we have the heaters on, and that water will get evaporated because of the heat, not necessarily the plant sucking it up. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I would recommend this plant very highly because they stay bloomed for 4 months, and it's really a joy each morning to look at it. Geraniums. This is another plant that is happy in the house with indirect sunlight and water. Outdoors, they bloom. They love sun, and they are easy to grow outdoors. But again, indoors, people think it's a challenging one. This particular plant I have had in our house for almost 9 months, and it keeps blooming and reblooming. And this one is red, but this comes in several colors and shades. So this summer, go out, take a look in the nurseries, pick your favorite color, let it bloom in summer outside on the deck for 3 months, and then bring it indoors last week of August. That is what you should do for all indoor plants. Last week of August, whether it is warm or cold outside, bring them in and let them get used to the temperatures inside the house. Because if you bring them in September, when it has cooled down and the heating system has started, they die instantly out of shock. And that has happened to me also. It was a learning process several years ago when I first moved to Minneapolis. So these are, again, I have two pots, and they have grown abundantly. They bloom and rebloom constantly. So these are, again, just a beauty thing. They give you joy. You can use that for puja or just for flower arrangement, decorations, if you're having a party for your friends or anything, if there's a special occasion like they do during Indian, bridal shower, for example, you can use it around the table anywhere. Amaryllis. The red ones are most popular during the holiday season, November to December timeframe. And these are, again, easy to grow. You can grow them in soil, in pots, as well as in water, in glass containers on top of that. So all these plants that we have been seeing right now have actually been grown in my own family, my friends, or friends and other people's families, real people who have been growing them indoors for several years. So amaryllis is popular during holiday season, but there's several shades and colors of this. Very easy to grow, and same schedule. Water it thoroughly once a week. Let the water drain from the bottom of the pot and water it the next week. So pick your color, pick your shade, very easy to grow. Hibiscus. This is another popular plant, I would say, in South Asian community in particular. The flowers, they just look so happy and they make you feel happy. They come in, again, several colors and several shades, red being most popular. You offer that in puja to Ganeshji, but you can pick your color and any shade. White, pink, they grow just as well outdoors. So I would again recommend growing it outdoors in summer. Let it establish the root system, the leaves, the buds, they will start coming also. And then last week of August, bring it indoors. And as it goes with any plants during winter time, the growth is slow during winter. So don't expect any miracles that indoors with more heat, they will grow bigger and taller. They will not. The growth will stabilize and they will remain almost of the same size during those 9 months. And these plants, they may get some disease like the white fungus or the small mites. And the solution to that is to use some small amount of water mixed with dishwashing soap, few drops, not too much. And then you can just sprinkle it on the infected part. Or if the infection is widespread, you may just want to prune those branches and throw them away. And the growth will come again, of course, again in summer. It will not happen in winter right away, but will happen in summer. But the root system will remain intact. So don't think this is a sick plant, I need to get rid of it and throw it away, but keep it and bring it outside again once winter is over. Bring it outside in last week of May or in June, and it starts growing and blooming again. Next slide, please. Now we move on to the edible plants, fun and interesting. And like I mentioned, it's not growing like cucumbers, tomatoes, eggplants, because no, those are very demanding. They need more than 5 to 6 hours of sunlight. What I'm talking about is smaller plants, something that you can have fun with, easier to grow, and not necessarily fruit or vegetable bearing. So curry leaves is another popular plant in the South Asian community because we use curry leaf almost in anything and everything Indian, right? So this is very easy to grow against the popular myth that, oh, it's complicated and demanding and difficult to grow. No, it is not. So indirect sunlight by the window, like you see, this is from my friend's house in Plymouth, Minneapolis, and it's been growing happily. I have another friend in Edina who has this plant, and they have it as tall as 8 or 9 feet. And the seed pods, they fall down and they multiply. They have some saplings also that they sell. Here in Minneapolis, the Hindu Mandir, you can see it for sale on weekends. And this is only during the summer months of June, July, and August. So if you visit the Mandir and if you ask someone at the reception desk or anybody at the front desk, and they may have it. And so goes with the Tulsi plant. So those are 2 sources. If not, you can try searching the internet, and of course, those would be delivered to you at home. Next slide, please. Lemongrass, or as it is called, hari chai in Hindi. This is popular, and I would say most appropriate during the Minneapolis winters, because the leaves, you can use them in tea or just like in green tea, or in Ayurvedic kadha, you mix it with cinnamon, cloves, ginger, and black pepper, and I use it as my, herbal tea. It's popular. It takes care of your cold and cough, digestion problems, and so many other things. The white part of it, the stem, the thick part below the green leaves, that's used in Thai cooking. It's popular. And where do you get this? This is sold in our own cup foods in the ethnic produce section, or at the farmers market, where the Hmong farmers, they sell their produce, and they sell it by huge bunches. It's $2 a bunch that I have seen. This is from our own Mangala Auntie Parnerkar's house. She also makes compost in her own kitchen. So she's a good source of gardening. Get in touch with her and she will tell you more how to make compost right at home in your kitchen with the kitchen fruit and vegetable peels. And you don't have to go anywhere. So you will have fun, and it takes care of your wintertime and something to do. Next slide, please. Garlic. This is something I experimented during COVID, because you never think of wanting to grow garlic indoors because of the smell, first of all. But garlic is a very good insecticide to grow with other plants in your house, just because of its, the strong smell and the properties that it has. You will have less bugs in your house or around your plants that you have in your sunny spots. So the tall plant that you see like a spider, that's a decorative ornamental plant. And if you have any plant or any pot with a plant that grows tall, you don't want to lose that empty space underneath. You can grow garlic, and it grows as tall as 8 inches leaves. You can cut those leaves and use it in chutney as a garnish, in your tadka, in vegetable or anything, and it regrows. So the ones that I have been regrowing since December. You cut them and they regrow. So stick in as many garlic cloves as you can in any empty pot or empty space, and you will have fun. The taller plant, it does not get suffocated, and garlic, it blossoms, it grows. But don't expect garlic pods growing underneath the soil, because they need longer period to grow. So just make use of the leaves and have fun with it. Next slide, please. This is something I experimented again in the pandemic time during the lockdown. This is arbi in Hindi, colocasia or taro in English. As you can see, we eat the stems as just like potatoes. It's a tuber. And people from Maharashtra and Gujarat, they eat the leaves as well. It's called patra or aruvadi. You can eat that as a sag. It's nutritious, high in folic acid and other nutrients. So I picked the tubers, the colocasia roots, actually from the Indian grocery stores. So if you're visiting the Indian grocery store, just take a look and pick those that have nodes on them, what are called eyes, just like the potatoes. And just when you think that these are not best for consumption, but they're good for planting in your soil. And bring them home, soak them in water for overnight, I would say 8 hours of nighttime, so that they plump up. And next day, stick them in the soil, in your potted soil. And very slowly, I mean very slowly, as long as 1 month's time, maybe, or 1.5 months also, they start growing out of the soil. So those little babies that you see, they are going to grow as big as the one on the right side, the leaves. So the leaves, you keep cutting them and they keep regrowing. And you can make sag out of it. You can make patra, aruvadi, whatever. And the tubers, and this has to be planted in a bigger, I would say broader pot, because they multiply. These are rhizomes, these are tubers. So they multiply just like potatoes. So if anybody has grown potatoes outdoors, they will know that one big potato, it develops smaller baby potatoes. So same thing with arbi. And if you want to just get rid of it, like, okay, I have had enough of arbi, that's when you want to pull out the plant and take out all the tubers, the baby tubers that are attached to it or with it, and finish it off. But I would say this takes care of 9 months of winter, and you keep cutting the leaves, they keep regrowing. Next slide, please. Now, if you are advanced, if you have gained enough confidence and you think, yes, I can do it, even if you don't have green thumb, these plants, they don't need a green thumb, because here, Mother Nature takes over. You don't have to do anything here. So I would say try these. For adventure, experiment, you can involve your other family members as well, your grandchildren, your son, daughter-in-law, your grandson, anybody who lives in the house with you. These are microgreens, which are sold in Cup Foods or any grocery stores and eaten as a garnish in between sandwich, as a topping on soups. But you can grow them right at home during wintertime. And the heating environment during wintertime, it's just a natural for these ones. So what I have used here is tiny seeds of mustard, kalonji, or onion seeds, ariv, which is chia seeds. And these are full of micronutrients. Methi, that is another dynamic micronutrient. So what I used is a moist and wet cloth in a plastic tray-like place, because these, you don't want to grow them in deep pots. They are in tray-like place, and then on top of my moist cloth. But soak all of these seeds in water for overnight 8 hours. Next day, spread them on this moist cloth, and then slowly pour water underneath the cloth by lifting it. Next slide, please. And this is how they grow. They need indirect sunlight as well. Kitchen windowsill, that's the happiest place for them. And because the ledge is small, choose a container. I have used a plastic container of a vegetable box that I bought from Cub, but use anything. All they need, even aluminum foil, that will work. And then they start growing. The only thing with these is you cannot cut them and they don't regrow, since they are so tiny, just as the name says, microgreens. So grow them, pull them by the roots, and use the same fabric to spread another batch of soaked seeds. And you will have a continuous supply. So you can get your young granddaughter or grandson to get involved. And this is something to begin with, or just to have fun. And I have used it as a topping on top of the soup. Next slide. Poinsettias. This is again a favorite holiday season plant that you see around in your office spaces, supermarkets, malls, anywhere. So if somebody gives it to you as a gift, don't throw it away, because once the top red leaves are withered, you can cut them, repot in a bigger pot, and keep it growing. This particular plant I have had for 7 years almost. It's tall and big, it's growing wide. And for it to have and develop those red tips, the bracts, again, it's an experiment. It is a huge effort. And I say huge effort because the tips to grow and develop red color, you have to store them for 14 hours in a complete dark and cool place. So what I have done with this plant is each morning or each night at 5 p.m., I would carry it on my dolly, plant dolly, and keep it in a closet, which is completely dark and cool. And 7 a.m. in next morning, take it out again. So I have done this in the month of December after, the red tips have changed colors and everything. And I did that for almost 1 month. And then they started developing the red leaves again. And this was a particular joy during the lockdown and COVID time, because there was so much negativity around out in the world and outside the house and everywhere. And I was so joyous. I felt victorious that, yes, this is one positivity. I tried this experiment and it happened, I could make it. So it was fun. And till this day, the tips and all those red leaves, they are still red. So they stay red for quite some time. So if anybody has developed confidence and they think comfortable and they think that, yes, I can do it, try it out. Put the huge pot on the dolly, the plant dolly, and it's back and forth each evening and each morning. You have to put it in the closet, take it out the next day. So if you have the adventurous spirit, go for it, is what I would say.
Vandana, I want to just say that I do have a poinsettia plant, and the same thing. 2 years ago, a friend gave me a small plant and I planted it, and now it has become a big one. But I waited in December for the leaves to turn red, but they did not. So now I know why. So next
Yeah.
December, and what you said, I need to do only in around December time, or can I do it now?
You can try it now also, because actually this plant, I had tried it last year and automatically it turned, without doing anything, it turned red. The tips turned red for me in December during COVID time. So it was freak. It was a miscalculated experiment, delayed experiment. So I would say for you just to try for the sake of it, for having fun, if you have time, you can do that even now and see if it blooms in December or midsummer. So don't be surprised if it turns red in midsummer. It will be a joy. And you will know your timing that, okay, it takes this many months or weeks for it to turn red. But that 14 hours of complete darkness and cool place, that is important. And again, these plants and these experiments are for adventure. It's Mother Nature who rules. So you don't have to have a green thumb. So like, I was amazed and I was laughing for 5 minutes. Like, I did the experiment last year and it has turned red during COVID time. So go for it.
Yeah, I'm going to try that. Thanks.
Yeah, and you may want to repot it, Siley, because the pot might be smaller, the one that you got as a gift. This is dwarf banana plant. Again, gives the oriental look and oriental touch to any household because it grows again in warmer climates, tropics. And those of us who have lived and grown up in India, we still dream of eating Indian food on banana leaves, just for the traditional sake and just for fun. I did that when our kids were little. I would buy that from the Mexican grocery stores and from the Indian grocery store, and just for change, because how do you kill boredom during winter time? So this was part of it. It's a very important plant in any Hindu ritual, Hindu puja, or any function. So here it is. This one is from my friend's house in Plymouth. She uses it for pujas or just for decoration purpose. It's happy by the windowsill, as you can see. And again, low maintenance, once a week watering schedule till the water drains out of the bottom of the pot. And that's about it. And you keep trimming the sick and dried leaves and the new ones keep growing. And people have grown this outside, outdoors, even in cold, snowy Minnesota, I have heard. I have not tried it myself, but they have. And it's very time consuming because once the snow season starts, I believe there's a procedure. You have to chop off the tree completely till ground level, cover it with burlap and winterize it. So if you have energy, time, and resources, go ahead and try that for fun. But indoors, this is very low maintenance. If you keep it by a sunny window in your puja room or that corner of the house, it will stay there permanently and happily. Buying, you can buy that on gurneys. I have mentioned it on that slide. So that's another resource, or internet, any place. Next one is mushrooms. Of all the mushroom types, our son in particular, he liked the lion's mane mushroom because it's a superfood. It improves memory. It's good for the brain, he says. And it's used in Chinese cooking, It's very low maintenance. You grow it in your basement in indirect sunlight. Indirect sunlight means even if it is a dark basement, it grows under the light. So we had this for 3 consecutive years in our basement, and all we did was keep the light on, nothing else. It doesn't require indirect sunlight, no fresh air, no nothing, because mushrooms, they grow in the woods, and they grow as parasite on other trees and tree trunks or any area that is wooded. So very, very low maintenance. You can buy them online. They are sold in kits, like you see here, the plastic bag, and it's compacted sawdust, and they have the pores of the mushrooms that grow. And once you buy that kit, it gives you all instructions how to grow. You have to keep it in a bigger plastic tub with water in it. And the sawdust, it soaks up all the water, the pores, the mushroom pores in the sawdust, they get moistened and they start growing. And pop comes that huge mushroom like cauliflower that you see. That's lion's mane mushroom, this particular kind. And it's a little hard and chewy, but our son and our whole family, we used it for Chinese cooking. And it blooms and reblooms 3 or 4 times during the entire season. So we had bought this kit for about $30, I believe. So it was like, oh, we got our money's worth. And he has gotten into gardening. He also used those spinach seed strips that you get, and we use those outdoors. So this is something for boys to get interested into gardening. And that was my purpose. I had exposed both our children, son and daughter, to gardening when they were in elementary school. And this is how far they have developed. Our daughter had her vegetable bed outdoors until last September. Next slide, please. Venus flytrap. This is again a popular plant with kids and boys in particular because it kills the insect. So it's like signifies power, killing somebody or killing the bugs. So one of my nephews who lives in Switzerland, this is from his home, and it actually killed the bugs. So they're sensitive to movement, I believe. So as soon as the bugs sit on the plants, the plant leaves, so to say, they kind of shut and they close down and kill the insect. So that's the idea. Next slide, please.
Yeah. Vandana, just yesterday I saw Venus flytrap little plants in Trader Joe's, and they call them mini Venus flytraps. I think they were very little. So I was wondering, so maybe next time I'll try bringing them and repotting them, and maybe they'll grow bigger.
Exactly, yes, because they sell it as small plant. What you need to do is grow them, transplant them into bigger plant, and they will grow bigger. And once their leaves and everything is established, that's when they start to function as, killing the bugs. And I also saw them at the checkout counter of Cup Foods, one particular Cup Foods. So where do you buy all these plants that I have mentioned? And not just the plants that I have mentioned and shared with you. There are other plants that grow well indoors, like Brahma Kamal, which is white in color, blooms only at night. There is another flowering plant, Aboli or Kanakambaram, it's called, which is used in puja and for gajra in your hair, and few others. But these are foolproof plants and flowering plants that grow well in Minnesota weather, and that's why I'm recommending to them. If you know of friends who have been growing other plants, yes, they do grow. It doesn't mean that, they don't. But you can buy them at Walmart, Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's, Bachman's. These are, very good sources for us locally. And of course, internet, like the banana plant that I said, internet is a good source. Bachman's and others, they may have, may not have, or they are there for a very short time. So check them out. Plant care, good sources are, I have got the website links here. University of Minnesota's Agriculture Department and Gardening section, they have good sites, and they also have a special site and a tab for indoor plants for Minnesota, very specific. And this is all research-based, so those are good sources. Farmer's Almanac is another favorite of mine because it also tells you about not just indoor plants, but about outdoor plants and also about agriculture in cold, snowy Minnesota as such. So once you broaden your interest and go beyond indoor container gardening, you can check those websites and learn more about what we grow in Minneapolis and Minnesota and how we do it. So any questions?
Yeah. They have put some questions in the chat. So let's go through those. So one question is, does jasmine need sunlight while indoors in winter months? I think you answered that question, but I want to say more.
Mm-hmm. No, I would say like just if you see there is any infection or disease, try the simple remedy of mixing like 4 ounces of water with 2-3 drops of hand soap. That's good. And sprinkle it around that infected area. But if the infection is wider, just prune that particular branch so that the disease, the fungus or the mites, those are called plant mites, they don't spread around other plants or the whole plant, and the whole plant is not infected. And second of all, don't expect growth during winter months, because even outdoor plants, growth is limited during winter months. It's not the time for growth for the plants. Summertime is when they grow robust. So just don't expect too much. And again, we are not doing agriculture or farming indoors during the winter months. It's to enjoy simple and low maintenance plants. So that's the idea.
Another question is, can we grow lemongrass from the stem?
Yeah, that's how you grow them, because if you go to the farmer's market, they sell it $2 a bunch, and the bunch has about 12 or 16, I believe. Or if you buy it from Cup Foods, for example, the trick to start is bring that bunch home and you soak it in 6 or 8 inches of a tumbler or container full of water. Keep that for 2 weeks or even longer, and they start growing roots at the bottom. And that's when you transplant them into a pot full of soil. And I would say stick them deeper in the soil, because these are tall growing plant, so they need support, and stick them in like 4 inches of soil. But you have to soak them or keep them in water for 2 weeks or a little longer, and they start growing roots. Very easy. And that is what you do with any plant cutting to propagate or to multiply. This is what you do. Soak them in water, add a pinch of sugar maybe, because sugar enhances growth for the plants. No fancy things. You don't have to go grow and buy plant root growing hormones that they sell. Simple. And that is why I'm stressing this is simple. Any single person, one person can do all the things that they sell outdoors in nurseries and hardware stores are right at your home.
Another question is, when is the best time to plant RB? And I would extend that question to say, when is the best time to plant any of these that you mentioned in your PowerPoint? I believe it would be beginning of summer or in spring.
I'm saying this summer right now for most of the plants, but RB, you can do any time of the year. Like the ones that I shared with you, I planted them in middle of January. So RB is sold in the Indian grocery store all year long. So anytime that you're going and visiting the Indian grocery store, take a look at the RB that they are selling. Pick the ones that have eyes. Bring them home, soak them in water for at least, overnight is just good. And then transplant them. So there is no time limit. Any time, any day of the year for RB. And summertime is best for the other plants, just because they have leaves and they bear flowers, or they are edible. But if somebody is giving you a curry plant in December, don't say no, because it will grow. They're giving you a grown plant that has leaves already. And the root system, it will keep developing and growing even in middle of winter.
And you gave us very valuable information that even if you put your houseplants outside during summer, bring them inside in August. But I have heard that the advice that has been given to me is that when you bring them in, you take out the soil and repot the plant in totally new soil, because in summer when you keep the plant outside, bugs and other things get in the soil, and when you bring them inside, your plant gets infected or something like that. And I have experienced that my plants, when I bring them in after a few weeks, there's some white growth or something on the plant and it doesn't grow after that. So I have stopped. Last 2 summers I did not keep my indoor plants outside. I kept them inside in a sunny place and they have survived. So do you recommend we change the soil fully after we bring them in, or we need to repot, or how do we do that?
Well, that is again high maintenance, and the bugs and white dust kind of thing that you see is on the leaves, and that is coming from externally, in the sense it's not coming from the roots. Because you keep them outdoors during summertime is more bugs, and this is Minneapolis mosquito being our state bird, but that's coming from externally, not from the soil. So I would say, no, you need not change the soil. Again, if you have the energy and time, do it. It's always a good idea, but you don't have to. The bugs come from outside. It's airborne. It's not soil-borne. It's not coming from the soil. And the bugs and the white fungus that you see, once you bring it inside, just take care of it with water and soap solution or by pruning. But it's definitely not coming from the soil, I would say. If you can do it, it's good, because it's always good to change the soil, say every 2 years, and repot it. Once the plant has grown bigger, transfer it to a bigger pot. As simple as that. But this is low maintenance. And believe me, people have been growing plants indoors for such a long time. Second most important thing I would say is, don't change the position of your plants, indoor plants, according to your house decor. Oh, this plant will look pretty in that corner. Do not. That is what kills the plants, because I have seen, and women in particular, we tend to do that, change arrangement. And we like to say that, oh, this plant will look nice between those 2 sofa seats. Do not do that, because plant love and they need indirect sunlight, the indoor plants. So don't change their positions, because that is for their survival. They need sunlight, soil, and water. That is all. So no change of positions. Change your sofa and furniture according to the plants, actually, I would say.
Okay, that's good advice.
Yeah.
Another question we have in the chat is, you mentioned that we use cloth to grow microgreens. So
Yeah,
that has to be cotton cloth, right? Soft cotton cloth.
it can be anything, because I have seen at the farmer's market some vendors selling microgreens on a burlap. Burlap is the bora, jute, right? So it can be grown on anything. I have just used that cotton dhoti kapda, actually. It was a torn dhoti. I have folded that, moistened it, soaked it in water, and just spreaded the seeds, the soaked seeds on top of that. But you can use anything, burlap as well. Anything, even a napkin, a handkerchief, that's old used clothes. Just make sure that they are clean. They are clean from the washing machine. And most of us take care of that. So it's very easy and it's fun. Microgreens is fun. It's very popular with our kids again. So try it.
That's wonderful. This is such valuable information, Vandana. So
Thank you.
We want to know if you will be sharing your PowerPoint slides with them.
Oh, with pleasure and joy. And this is, I want to share my joy of gardening, and just a new hobby for some of you to develop, and to be adventurous for some others. And, this is for everybody. This is Mother Earth's gift to us. So I'm so glad and thankful for AshaUSA and to Saili and Kamla. Once again, I'm saying that you gave me this opportunity to share, and anybody can grow it. I would say everybody can grow it. You don't have to have green thumb. So I hope this summer you at least go out in the nurseries, identify the sunny spots in your house and pick up at least one plant to start with. And believe me, this is such a nice hobby for a lifetime that you can do even by lying in a bed. You know that Venus flytrap? It's so less demanding. All it asks is give me those bugs to eat. That's all. And keep it by your kitchen counter where you have bananas, because bananas attract bugs, or fresh fruit bowl. They attract bugs, and see the fun. And get your family members involved too, your younger granddaughter's son, your daughter-in-law, anybody. And you can do this with minimum physical effort. Have the plants, let them sit. If you have time and if you have the inclination, talk to them, sing to them like some people do. I don't have the time for that, and I don't think they need that, but have fun. Flowers, they give such joy. You don't have to go out in the nursery. And the joy of having a seed sprout that you have sown with your own hands is immeasurable, right? That
Yes.
it could, yeah,
The
it's Mother
gardening
Nature's
is-
job.
Yeah, it's the purest form of pleasure, and with such less resources, we can do so much, especially where we live in cold Minnesota winters or great Minnesota summers. You know, we have
Mhm.
both the options, outdoors and indoors.
Exactly.
And again, thank you very much, Vandana. We also want to know, like people have asked, you said you would share some of the seeds and plants you have. So people want
Yes.
to know what are those and how can they contact you?
If you share the slides with them, the PowerPoint deck with them, Siley, they can contact me directly. And I don't say I have huge collection, but I do have 3 orchids. I have the poinsettia to give away, and few other plants. But I will be free to give them only on June 20th, I would say. So please contact me via phone or email, and I'll be happy to give them away to anybody and everybody.
Wonderful. And you have your phone number in the slide. So
I have my phone number and my email to contact. So it will be on first come, first serve basis, I have to say, because I don't have a huge collection, like I said. So anybody who contacts me, you know, I will happily give them away. Sure.
Thank you. And if you have any more questions, feel free to write to Vandana. She's been very gracious.
Yes.
And as she said, this is joy for her. And thank you so much, Vandana. And
No, this was fun, Siley, and thank you and Kamla very much.